What about when they meant to hurt me? What about when there was malice aforethought? How do I deal with that kind of breach with grace? And I have to turn to the scriptures to answer that, because the strength to respond to a human act of malice, of hatred, of envy, of spite requires supernatural strength. It requires a quiet confidence that comes from a place of understanding the higher law that governs all human beings, and that is everything that you do returns a harvest to you. So if I sow thorns and I put thorns into the ground, I'm going to get a harvest of thorns. If I put tomatoes in the ground, I'm going to get a harvest of tomatoes. And if you know me, you know I want to put mango seeds. I want to plant mangoes, my favorite fruit, everywhere I go, because I'm putting a demand and an expectation on a return of an abundant return of mangoes. And this is the higher universal law that governs all of us. And when we are dealing with an intentional act of breach from a place of malice, hatred, envy, you name it, darkness, then you will need supernatural strength to respond with grace and leaving that matter in the hands of the universal law. And you know what? You may not get a front row seat when that person receives the harvest of thorns that they planted when they breached you in malice. You may not be able to witness how it comes back to them 10 times worse than the way that they did it to you. You may not get the pleasure or the sense of justice by having all of the details, but this law is absolute and it does not fail. Sometimes we receive mercy even when we act out of a place of darkness. Sometimes we don't get it back as harshly as we deal it out. And this is divine mercy and kindness. And if anything, when you are the person who has suffered an intentional breach, a breach from a place of darkness, there is an opportunity, there is an invitation here for you to grow and mature in how to love like a real hero loves. And it is a very hard path. It is not for the faint of heart, but it is a very doable operation of love. It is very accessible to those who are willing. And you can't be afraid of looking like you're weak because you choose to be a person of forgiveness or you choose to be a person that extends mercy. Because the wise understand the amount of strength that remains with the person who gives you mercy for your breach, for your malice, for your envy. The person of character and strength is the one who forgives rather than become embittered or vengeful or returning malice for malice. When a person has intentionally breached your relationship for the purpose of harming you from a place of hatred, envy, spite, that person is inviting you to the dark side. And to become a person that responds to this type of breach with grace is simply just to decline the invitation to go there. It is not weakness. You are exercising the highest form of human strength that exists in the spiritual law. And I just want to speak to it directly because I know how tempting it is to become unforgiving. I know how tempting it is to become resentful. I know how that type of pain can drive you to the point of bitterness and even rage. But if you would resist and you would trust the universal law and you will leave it to the court of justice of the highest power, and you choose forgiveness and you choose mercy and you handle that breach with grace, what the law promises is that you, as one who has learned how to be meek, and that word is never taught the right way, but what I'm describing is meekness, returning good for evil. The meek shall inherit the earth. There is nothing that will be denied you because you have activated one of the highest human abilities. So, yes, it's going to hurt. Yes, it's going to be hard. Yes, it's doable. And you do not have to go to the dark side. You can handle that breach with grace and you can begin expecting supernatural abundance, prosperity, and blessing because you chose grace over wrath. Be blessed and encouraged.